My name is Camille Eichhorn.
My name is Thomas Shump II.
We are the owners of the Dilgert house. The house land was bought in 1881 by Adam Dilgert. He was an immigrant that came over from Bavaria, Germany with his parents and his brother. Adam Dilgert was pretty much the golden child of Atchison. He owned the local rock quarry where everyone sourced their limestone to build the foundations of their homes and businesses. He even helped build the orphanage right outside town that would later on burn down. And he helped build part of the foundation for the original bridge as you're coming in from St. Joe. Basically, he wheeled and dealed and was involved in a lot of financial exchanges and really helped to found Atchison as it is. At one point, they even thought about renaming Atchison. They were going to name it Dilgertville, but there was a, what was it?
There was an incident that occurred between his brother and himself.
Well, no, it would have taken an act of Congress to rename it Dilgertville because the Santa Fe Railroad was coming through already. Later on, Adam Dilgert would have his wife and children living here. They would lose their infant daughter. She actually died upstairs. Her name is Maria Magdalena, and we do have a newspaper article to back that up. His teenage daughter Barbara died from meningitis at the age of 17 in the house, and we have paperwork to verify that she passed in the house. Later on, Adam would go on to murder his own brother. It was an act of fratricide. Because he was an affluent member of Atchison society, he was brought up on charges but never formally charged or found guilty. But that was his beginning of his fall from grace here in Atchison. After that, you don't see a lot of articles about how amazing he was or how great he was, just business transactions here and there. Later on, Adam would go on to die. He sustained a leg injury at work, ended up getting gangrene. They amputated his foot first and then his lower half of the leg. When we moved in, you found an old bottle of laudanum in the basement, which makes sense because if he was taking laudanum, he would have been very light sensitive, so they probably kept him in the basement towards the latter part of his life. Later on, his wife would die from Bright's disease, which was a really nice way of saying liver failure. She also died in this house. And then a relative of theirs named Bertha Dilgert also died in this house of a heart attack upstairs. There was a tragedy that did occur here on these very stairs right behind us. There was a gentleman that lived here named Cecil D. Blyde. Unfortunately, he did fall down the stairs. He sustained a severe neck injury, basically broke his neck. And he laid at the bottom of the stairs for 3 days before they found him. They transported him to St. Joe, and then he died 3 days after that. So we don't count that as a death in the house because technically he didn't pass here, but we do count that as a tragedy. There is a very strange marker in the back. Adam Dilgert was best friends with the mayor, S.C. King, at the time. So we did research and find out apparently he was a great violinist, and he was also a really big socialite here in Atchison as well. And then Frances also haunts our house. Although she didn't pass here, she was very fond of the house in life. She threw a lot of parties here. We found a lot of articles about how popular Frances was in life. She was the daughter of Frank and Ida Dilgert, who owned the tea room here in town for about 50 years. It's now Pete's Steakhouse. So she has been known to also haunt our home. And then in the basement, there is a shadow creature. We don't know who that is or what it is. Only one group has caught it on film, but you do know that it's down there with you. So you'll encounter the cigar smoke from Adam sometimes. Perfume from Barbara and Frances. It smells like lilac or lavender. Sometimes we'll smell baked goods when we come home. That's usually Mary Dilgert. You've heard Bertha crying upstairs before.
Once before.
Yeah, and then downstairs there are about 3 spirits down there, and then the shadow creature as well. Our house is pretty active. Our bathroom light's been flickering a lot lately, which hasn't always occurred since we moved in, and it doesn't happen all the time. We changed the bulb several times, and we've actually ran a little electrical thing over it. There's nothing wrong with anything. It's just somebody visits us in the bathroom. There is a butt grabber also in the bathroom. So if somebody grabs you, it's totally not us. We had a group was like, hey, did you grab us? And I was like, no, I wouldn't do that, but okay. And yeah, it's very active. You'll pick up a lot of orbs. People grab you, they'll touch your hair. You'll hear high-pitched buzzing in your ear. Sometimes we've been told that that's them trying to speak to us, just on a frequency that we can't hear. But yeah, and now it's about time when they would be waking up. They usually wake up around sunset. During the daylight, it's pretty quiet.
Yeah, for the most part.
Yeah. So yeah, welcome to our haunted house. After we moved in, we'd been here maybe 2 or 3 weeks. So I'm a teacher. During the summer, we have like a pre-scheduled midlife crisis, which we don't know what to do with ourselves. So I was watching TV right here about 3:30 in the morning, and I thought I saw something walk by the hallway. I know it wasn't Moss because I could hear him snoring softly in the bedroom, so it wasn't him. And it wasn't the 3 cats because they were sitting right next to me. So I got up to kind of peek in the hallway here and find out who was there. I very gently looked around the corner and I saw a young girl about the age of the students that I currently teach, which is high school. She was an apparition from the waist up. From the waist down, there was nothing, which made it kind of really alarming. But she just floated down the hall for a quick second, went into the kitchen, and then she was gone. All right, so we were non-believing. We didn't believe that there were any ghosts or spirits or anything. Like, it was great to watch in movies or read about in books, but we were kind of skeptics. So when it said, have you ever wanted to live in a haunted house? We're like, we don't care as long as we can afford the mortgage on 1 teacher's salary, because my boyfriend was still a full-time student. So we moved in the first night. Our bed was on the floor because we hadn't set up our bed frame yet. And right here in the doorway, about 3:30ish in the morning, I felt like somebody was watching us, and it's a really weird way to describe it. So I rolled over and I looked in the doorway, and there was a very portly gentleman leaning against this doorway, watching us sleep. So I tried to wake up Moss, but he was pretty tired from moving. And I went to reach for the baseball bat because I thought it was an inside intruder. And then I noticed the moonlight was coming through it. It was actually going through the gentleman. So I knew it wasn't a person. So I just froze and I was like, hi, how are you? And he just stared at me. I was like, we're the new owners. Everything's okay. And I said, you're okay. And then he nodded and fizzled into the hallway. So I slept like hell for the first 3 weeks because I was convinced there was some like random dude watching us sleep at night. So that was our very first night. They didn't give us any time. It was great. All right. So we were told when we purchased the house that since it was built in the Victorian time, that there were 2 different doorways. One doorway would have been used for the living, and one doorway would have been used for the dead. They never took the coffins out the same door that the living would enter and exit from. It was like a superstition of theirs. So this would have been the mourning room back in the day where they had several funerals in the home, and that is actually the doorway for the dead. Now, when they redid the home, they closed it up, but if you look on the outside, you can see through the siding an outline of a door where it used to be. But that's what we were told when we moved in. So a few months after we moved into the house, everything was kind of quiet after we saw Adam, and Francis is the spirit that I saw. Until one day I went to check my mail during the day, and my neighbor asked me, I didn't know you had company over, Camille. I said, what are you talking about? She goes, you know, the lady upstairs. So I turned and I faced upstairs in this window, and standing right here was a lady in an all black dress with her hair pulled up in a white bun, just staring down at us. And if you look here, you can see where the mailbox lines up perfectly with the window. And I didn't know that spirits could show themselves during the day. That was a new experience. So I did the only thing a responsible 37-year-old woman who just bought her first house would do. I went and hid in the Walmart parking lot and waited until my boyfriend got home. And then I didn't come up here for like 2 weeks because I was freaked out. Later on, I would meet some of her distant relatives. They're a family that married into the Dilgerts. They would show me a family photo, no names labeled, and I was able to pick her out because she was elderly, but she had no wrinkles, very beautiful face. And hers is a face that you wouldn't forget. But that's Miss Bertha Dilgert. This is her room. And the neighborhood children say that they will see the curtain move, and they'll see a woman standing here for just a second or two, and then the curtain always drops back. There are no vents, AC, or air conditioning or fans that are up here. So for the curtain to move on its own, it would physically take somebody or something to draw the curtain to the side. Now there have been several neighborhood children who have seen Miss Bertha. So we thought since we had a haunted house for Halloween, we'd have a bunch of kids trick-or-treating. And it was actually the reverse. Kids waited at the bottom of the stairs for me to bring candy to them because their parents wouldn't allow them to come to our door. So here I am owning a haunted house in the most haunted town in Kansas, and not a single trick-or-treater wanted to knock on my door. And Halloween's like my favorite holiday, so I was a little sad. I'm hoping maybe this year will be different. All right, so this is one of 2 bedrooms upstairs. Both these bedrooms are original to the house. The only part of the house that's not original would be the kitchen. That was an add-on. So we don't have any children yet, but we would like to have some children. And as you can see up here, we have flies. And this is the only room in the house that has flies year-round, and we don't know where they come from because everything up here is sealed and we don't open the windows. We've been told that that's supposed to be a negative entity of some kind. There is nothing for them to feed on because there's nothing here. But if you open the window and you look right in here, you will see our fly collection. We just kind of sweep them up and put them in the windowsill. And then you'll see from a couple days ago, they hatch and they come back every 3 days, we've noticed. So we only have a couple today, but if we come up here in another 48 hours, we'll have a whole swarm again. I'm not sure where they come from. It's really odd. We were told by several psychics and mediums that this is a portal, apparently. They said that the spirits come and go from here. One lady said it was like licking a battery when she walked into it. It's just a quick jolt, and it was kind of alarming for her. Now, we do plan to have children. We'll be trying this summer. And then we do have a friend and his daughter that will come stay with us for a couple weeks until they buy a home here in Atchison. So I am a little worried about the young girl staying in this room alone. I do know that this used to be Bertha's room, and across the way, and this was Barbara's room, and this is where the baby had also passed away. So there has been some things that have taken place in this room. All right. So when we first bought the house, it was advertised as, have you ever wanted to live in a haunted house? They didn't say why it was haunted, or how it was haunted, or how many people had died here, or what had happened. Now, during the signing of the papers, the gentleman who sold us the house, his realtor, told us that there had been an accident in the home.
Sorry.
No, but we weren't sure what kind of accident. No one told us. It was after we moved in that I found out a gentleman named Cecil D. Blythe had fallen down these stairs, broken his neck, and laid down there for 3 days, was found and then taken to St. Joe, and then died 3 days later. So when we found that out, Moss found an old door in the basement, used it, and put up a baby gate to prevent that from happening to anybody else. Then later on, when we met Cecil's son, he told us he actually fell over the railing of the stairs, and he suspects that somebody had pushed him. Now, whether that person was living or dead, we don't know, but that he said that it didn't make any sense why his dad would fall over the railing like that. So, like I said, we don't count that as a death, we count that as a tragedy. There are 3 spirits in our basement. One is very sad feeling. We think that may be Cecil. One is very curmudgeon-y and grumpy. We think that might be Adam, the owner. And then we were told there's a transient, and then there's the shadow creature. So we'll take you downstairs. This is room 1. There are 4 rooms total in our basement. This used to be the kitchen back in the day for the Dilgerts. As you can see, some of the wallpaper that was underneath the sheetrock when they pulled it off. This wall here would have been where they had their wood-burning stove to cook. This one would have been a small coal-burning stove to keep the servants warm. If you go out that door and you follow the sidewalk back, the servants' quarters, they would have had their own small house. Back behind the house where the shed is now, there's a whole foundation that's still there. There has been a lot of activity in this room. People will say that they see something mostly standing in that corner or kind of pacing back and forth. So we call this room 1, which once again would have been their kitchen. All right, so this is room number 3. You'll notice that the floor is a lot higher than the other rooms. The reason why is this would have been the coal storing room. So the coal chute would have gone here. You can see the original limestone, and then they bricked in the opening with brick after. And then there's an indentation in the ground where the coal bin would have gone. This is normally where the shadow man likes to hang out. A lot of people feel a lot of energy in the corner. So we have given him his chair. We've given Adam back his boots. And then one medium/psychic said that one gentleman down here wanted some whiskey and a cigarette. So occasionally people will leave cigarettes. We don't smoke. And then we will always bring him down a shot of whiskey about once a week. We've been told since the shadow man likes a lot of clutter, so he's very upset that we cleaned this room out for people to spend the night a couple weeks ago. Now he's moved back into our storage room back here. So the original basement would have ended when they had to break through this limestone wall. And so this is just where we store all of our excess items. This is where the water heater is, the electrical, and the water purifier. So we've been told the shadow man has now moved back into here because he likes the clutter and he likes to hide behind things. So I do feel bad that he felt the need to have to be pushed back. That wasn't our intention. Hopefully he'll be able to move around the basement happily again. It wasn't our intention to make him unhappy though, so I kind of feel bad about that. But hopefully you guys will be able to capture an image of him. All right, so this is room number 2 in the basement. If you ever watch Haunted in the Heartland, this was featured in Haunted in the Heartland season 1. Episode is called The Binding. You will see the previous owner, Kelly Adam, who has since passed away, unfortunately. And you will see her brother, Rob Adam, who was the gentleman who sold us the home. Kelly reported feeling very uncomfortable in the basement. I understand why. I also feel uncomfortable in the basement. I don't typically come down here alone, especially at night. If it's nighttime and I need something down here, I will wait until Moss gets home. This would have been their washroom. So right here, they would have had hooks to hang up their clothing. There would have been a coal or wood burning stove here to help dry the items off. This, the 2 plumbing things right here would have been the original attachments when they put in indoor plumbing to wash this clothes in a 3-basin sink. This is the only drain in the basement, so it makes sense why this would have been the washroom. Now when Kelly purchased the house, they actually found a pair of leather boots up in the corner part underneath the floorboards. It was a very common Germanic practice to put a pair of shoes or boots into the floorboards to protect the owners of the home and all the occupants. Kelly Adam, for some reason, allowed someone to do a cleansing ritual, which if she had felt that uncomfortable, I could see why she would have done that. But during the cleansing ritual, someone actually threw the Calvary boots that belonged to Adam Dilgert into the river. So one of the first mediums / psychics we brought in, one of the first things that they asked for was, where are my boots? I want my boots back. So we had to explain to Mr. Adam, unfortunately, those boots are in the Missouri River. It wasn't us, I apologize. So we did get him a new pair of leather boots, and he hasn't asked for them back since. We do still have one ritualistic rune left on the wall from when they did their cleansing ritual. They'd actually brought in someone who was German that could speak German to the spirits. So one of our number 1 rules is please don't try to push our spirits out or help them move on. If they had wanted to, they would have left 100 years ago. 2, please be considerate and kind. Don't be disrespectful to our spirits. You get to go home after you're done. We still live here, so please don't irritate our roommates. And 3, just have a great time and enjoy yourselves when you're in our home. Partake in the history and become an honorary member of the Dilgert family.